Now we're going to get into Yellowstone and possible disruptions with wolves and looking at graphs. I would suggest having the reading, which I just attached the PDF. You can open it with Kami if that would be a little bit better for you, and you can in Kami. So if I just open this with Kami, you should be able to have it read to you if you want, where you just highlight what it is you want. And then,
as you have seen, biotic and factors can affect an ecosystem in many ways. For example, the number of elk in the...
So if that's something you're interested in, just letting you know that that's available to you. But you're going to be filling this out in Kami, and this is what you're going to end up turning in. So there'll be the turn in button in the corner. And it says, as you read, determine if the following statements are true or false. If the statement is false, you're going to correct it so it becomes true. So they gave us the example of in graph 1 in figure 1, so it looks like this one right here. It says 1994 to 2014, there are no deer data for 1996 and 1997 because of weather. Okay, no, it should be elk data for 1996 and 1997 because of the weather. So we would cross off deer, and then I want you to do this on here. And we would write elk. And that would be false. And so what you're going to be doing is, I would suggest, and I'm going to do the first bit with you, is read a paragraph and then see if any of these go into play. Read a paragraph, see if you can correct any of these. Because we're also, near the bottom, it says, look for an example of each of the following patterns of interaction in the reading. If there is no appropriate example, write none. So let's read the very first one. Disruptions, or 1.6, disrupting ecosystem with wolves. As you have seen, biotic and abiotic factors can affect an ecosystem in many ways. For example, the number of elk in the greater Yellowstone ecosystem increased greatly after the wolves were gone. The reintroduction of wolves to Yellowstone contributed, and we know contributed means added, contributed to a smaller elk population as shown in figure 1 below. Other factors include disease, severe weather, winter weather, drought, and hunting also played a role in decreasing elk populations. So today there are a few populations of deer in the northern U.S. because they have few predators. Bears almost killed 6.5 million. Okay, we don't really have anything in there. So let's go on to the next paragraph. An explanation of why elk populations are smaller today than 20 years ago included the reintroduction of a predator, disease, weather, and hunting. In many parts of the United States, white-tailed deer populations are at a very high levels. Is it time to reintroduce a predator such as the wolves? So, it says, all right. Well, it says that an explanation of why elk populations, all right, white-tailed deer populations are at very high levels. Okay, well, we know it doesn't say that they have predators. Okay, we'll keep going. And so we've got this graph here. And so it says, wolves and elk populations 1994 to 2014. All right, well, if I'm looking right here, it says in figure 1, wolf and elk populations from 2000 to 2001, the elk population decreased and the wolf population increased. Okay, so if I'm looking on here, so 2000 to 2001. So I'm going to find, here's 1999, so this would be 2000. So if I'm looking on mine, I'm looking right here. So our wolf population is going up and our elk population is decreasing. Let's see what it says. The elk population decreased. Okay, that's true. Wolf population increased. Okay, that's true as well. So I'm going to go ahead and mark that as true. Now, it also says in Figure 1, elk and wolf populations from 2004 to 2005. So let's go ahead and look at 2004, 2005. All right, well, we know our wolves decreased, and it shows that our elk increased. Okay, the elk population decreased. Well, that's not true, so I'm going to cross that off. Oh, I need, this should be increased. And the wolf population, it shows that they decreased. And I just need to get my line and, Oh, it's because I'm using the wrong tool. Whoops. So I'm going to cross these out. And we know that that is false. So let's keep reading. And it says wolves were introduced in Yellowstone in 1995, and they have been counted every year since. Elk counts were made in and near northern borders of park during the winter. There is no elk data for 1996 and 1997 because of weather. Okay, so populations of deer. In this chapter, you have closely examined the greater Yellowstone ecosystem. People often think that animals in the ecosystem as living only in the western United States, U.S. At one time, many of these animals existed in large numbers in other parts of the United States. For example, bears, wolves, elk, and moose were found across the northern states. Today, black bears and moose can still be found in upstate New York and other northern states. Okay, let's see if there's anything in there. I'm not seeing anything, so let's go on to the next one. One species that thrives, and we know thrives means to do well, in much of the U.S. is deer. White-tailed deer in particular have been successful in the absence of predators. Absence means they're not there, like if you're absent from school. You may have heard that white-tailed deer, because it is a host animal for black-legged ticks, are also known as the deer tick. This tick sometimes carries Lyme disease, which can be transmitted to humans when bitten by an infected tick. Lyme disease is a growing problem, especially in the Northeast and upper Midwest. Okay. Oh, there it is. Large populations of deer in the northern U.S. because they have few predators. So I'm going to mark that as true. And so you're going to keep going through this. And if it is true, mark it as true. If it's false, like we corrected down here, you have to mark it as false and then correct the statement to make it true. And then you're going to continue looking for these types of interactions in here. In competition, this should be 2 examples of competition.